Hey guys, well, I am back from Ames, Iowa, where I covered last week's GOP debate, as well as the Iowa straw poll. Got to spend some quality time in Middle America, and also got a front row seat to some of the early campaigning that's going on for the Republican primary. And I've got to make some observations about what it looks like on the ground there, especially when it comes to a certain candidate. The night of the debate, standing on a bridge overlooking the road where the candidates and the media come in, a large group of Ron Paul supporters. I ran into a couple college kids who said they had very little money but drove in from Missouri to show their support. I also met a family who drove from Vegas for the same reason, Ron Paul. And if you watched the debate and heard the cheers in the audience, you'd understand he has a following. And many of them were pleasantly surprised to see that Ron Paul was asked a lot of questions by the mediators of the Fox-sponsored debate. So I thought, okay, maybe the mainstream media is going to give him a fair shot. Even tried to talk to Ron Paul about that afterwards.
Looks like they paid more attention to you this time around, don't you think?
Yeah, they're moving my way.
All right, so Ron Paul was not convinced. But I've got to say, the most astounding thing I saw was at the straw poll itself. This is the way it looked. Each of the candidates had, their campaign bus and maybe a tent, maybe a stage. But Ron Paul had an entire wing of Iowa State University, games and stages and multiple tents, which, yes, the Ron Paul camp spent more money on. You can see, I took some of these pictures that you're seeing behind me. These are people who were decked out in Ron Paul gear. And they needed the space that Ron Paul rented. They had busloads of supporters and tons of people, and they showed up and they voted. Out of the 16,892 votes cast, Ron Paul came in second place, losing to Michelle Bachmann by 152 votes. That is less than 1%. But take a listen to how mainstream media interpreted this.
Well, based on what we know today, the Republican nominee for president is almost certainly going to be one of three candidates, Michelle Bachmann, Rick Perry, or Mitt Romney.
We have a top tier. It is Mitt Romney, Rick Perry, and Michelle Bachmann.
Guess what, Paul? If you get video of Sarah Palin or get a soundbite from her, bring that back to us. You can hold the Ron Paul stuff.
I have gotten a ton of email today from people saying, look, Ron Paul finished 152 votes behind Michelle Bachmann of the Ames straw poll, basically a dead heat. Why aren't we giving him his due?
Well, let me start with the second question because it's easier to remember. It was the latest one. Ron Paul is not going to be president of the United States. A libertarian is not going to be elected. We are not a libertarian country.
So what is the deal here? I mean, the people are voting. Ron Paul's views on everything from gold to ending the wars to closing down the Federal Reserve are starting to be adopted by more mainstream Republicans. His ideas have remained consistent, and yet he is still, according to most people, unelectable. Well, luckily the Ron Paul camp is still full speed ahead. So I want to leave you with this, a snippet of Ron Paul's latest campaign ad.
Ron Paul, the one who will stop the spending, save the dollar, create jobs, bring peace, the one who will restore liberty. Ron Paul, the one who can beat Obama and restore America now.